What's going on, guys? Office space slash studio is all complete. I'm just absolutely loving the garage. Garage Living just did an absolutely amazing job. So we're gonna be doing a lot of videos here in the studio space in the next couple months. We just got a snowstorm yesterday, probably about 8 inches of snow outside, and it's currently about 6 degrees. So we're definitely not going to be doing any riding for the near future. So I wanted to talk to you guys about a motorcycle manufacturer that is near and dear to my heart and to a lot of you guys out there. And the company I'm talking about is KTM. So how I started, I've been riding over 30 years, and how I started riding is really on dirt bikes when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, up until the time where I could get my motorcycle license. And even after I got my motorcycle license, even literally just a couple years ago, about 7, 8, 9 years ago, me and Sandy would just take the dirt bikes out and go up to the property in New York State and just wail on the dirt bikes. And I've had several other KTM motorcycles, but as far as the dirt bikes, I've always loved KTM. I was drawn to KTM, and I even taught my daughter how to ride a dirt bike. I used to go out with my son Cam up to the property and ride dirt bikes. So dirt bike riding has been with me for a long time. So now to see that KTM is actually possibly going bankrupt, going out of business. I've been doing some research. They literally have over 300,000 motorcycles stuck in some warehouse that they can't even ship out, or they won't ship out because the dealers aren't even selling them. Like, if you go to a lot of the dealers near me right now, near us in this area, they're literally discounting KTM motorcycles $2,000, $3,000, some $4,000, some $5,000, which are leftovers, but they're discounting them so much because they're just not going. So the actual reason I wanted to make this video is because there's a lot of speculation, and that's fine, as to why they are going out of business, or as to why they're in such financial troubles. Like, going over some of the articles, it looks like they're over $300 million in debt. And that is just, a remarkable amount to be almost $500 million in debt. But I did see some YouTube videos as far as why people are speculating they went under. Could it be because of they're doing MotoGP, which costs a lot? We'll get into that. Could it be because they bought too many manufacturers in the past couple years? There's a lot of speculation, but I'm gonna go over what I think happened, because I've been literally riding KTM for quite a long time. It was kind of my go-to dirt bike. Never had problems with the motorcycle. Always ran good. Always super strong. I think personally KTM, as far as dirt bike go, they were just the top of the line. A lot of power, really light chassis, really light motorcycle, and just overall great Austrian build quality. So all of this probably I'm gonna say is like when I first started riding back when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, and probably 7, 8, 9 years ago. So let's just go over a couple things, what I think is or isn't maybe the root cause of why KTM is in such trouble. Me personally, I think it's the one biggest issue, and me and my friends have been talking about it for the past couple years, and I wanna see if you guys agree with me. But a lot of people have been saying it's because they have a MotoGP team. So I don't know if you guys know, but having a MotoGP team costs a lot of money. Probably total, with the bike and everything else, probably anywhere in the realm of $30 to $50 million. I'm assuming, going over some articles that I've been reading. $30 to $50 million just to have a MotoGP team. So then there was the question also, maybe, it's because they bought out some more manufacturers, like Husqvarna, I believe they bought them out in 2013, Gas in 2019, or MV Agusta in 2022. Did they spread themselves too thin, so to speak. A lot of other people have been saying maybe possibly it's the reliability. Now, KTM does have some reliability issues, I believe, with their 790 and 890 motor. I believe it's the parallel twin with camshaft problems. So I have been seeing a lot of issues, and people, as far as group chats and Facebook pages, Facebook groups made specifically for that issue. There is apparently a lot of people that are having problems with that motor, and also other aspects of other models. So let me tell you what I personally think. Being with a fan and using and purchasing KTM motorcycles, you know, long time ago, all the way up to even just a couple years ago, what I have seen, okay? So do I think that KTM went out of business because they have a MotoGP team and it costs anywhere from whatever 20 to 40 or 30 to 50 million dollars? I don't believe so. I don't believe that is the prime reason why KTM is going bankrupt or going under. I just don't feel that is the reason. I don't think that is enough reason to say KTM is going under just because they're spending that amount of money on MotoGP. Now, I do think that reliability could be a factor in why people aren't purchasing a lot of KTM branded or Husky gas motorcycles. Absolutely. If people buy, obviously, a motorcycle, right? If we spend our hard-earned money on a motorcycle, you want to know and be able to get on that motorcycle anytime you want, because it's not a necessity. It's really for us to put some smiles on our face, for us to enjoy them. The last thing you want is to get on your motorcycle and to push the start button and it to not start, or you're riding and you have motor troubles, or you have leaking fluids or something like that. That's the last thing you want on a motorcycle. And I'll tell you now, if you get stranded once or twice, and you have, I should say, if you have a brand and you're riding it and it strands you on the road somewhere once, twice, you're probably going to be done with that manufacturer. That's the kind of bad taste it leaves in people's mouths. It just happens. I could understand once and stuff like that, but if it happens, if it keeps happening repetitively, or if you start pulling up some data online or some Facebook groups and stuff like that, and now you have thousands and thousands of people saying, there's an issue here, there's an issue with the cams, there's an issue with the water pumps, and so forth, you're going to tend to steer away from those bikes, from those manufacturers. So I do believe that the reliability issues that KTM is experiencing in the past couple years, does it play? Absolutely. I think it definitely does play in how many bikes are being purchased. But the biggest thing, guys, the biggest thing, this is what I believe. This is why I believe that KTM as a whole is going under. If you go back, let me just give you an example. If you go back to like Chevy, it's still happening, but not at that extreme level. But if you go back to like Chevy back in whatever, in the 80s, 90s, if you go to Chevy, if you go to Pontiac, if you go to Oldsmobile, all of these car manufacturers, if you remember, they would build, the head of the manufacturing company would build one car and then say, they would build a car and all they would do is just change a few things on it, but it would be the same car as far as, you know, going from a Chevy to a Pontiac to a Oldsmobile to a Buick. It used to be all the same car. They would take it and kind of slap a different logo on it, slap a different name on it, but essentially it was the same car. So now, do I think they spread themselves too thin? It's definitely a possibility, because they did buy out Husqvarna in 2013, Gas in 2019, And then don't forget, COVID happened in 2020, and then they purchased MV Agusta in 2022. So in that time, in the past couple years, what did KTM do? They took a KTM, I'm gonna give you examples, today's examples, and they've been like that for the past couple years. They took their entire dirt bike line and basically used it and manufactured it as a Husqvarna, used it and manufactured it as a gas. All they did was rebrand it with a different name and different plastics, different color. That's all they did. So how many bikes are you going to be able to sell? You have 3 companies, KTM, Husqvarna, Gas. 3 gigantic companies, 3 gigantic entities that you own, but you're selling the same product. And it's not only for the dirt bike line. I'll show you a couple pictures here. If you take a KTM 690 SMC, which is the supermoto line, it's the same bike as the Husqvarna 701, and it's the same bike as the Gas 700. The only thing that's different are the colors and the name. It is the same bike. If you go to the dealership, you guys know it is the same exact bike. They're trying to, I don't want to say trick people, but they throw on a different name, a little bit different decals, different color plastics, but it is the same bike. Now, it's not only that bike. Like I said, it's almost their entire dirt bike lineup. It is the 690 SMC. It's the 690 Enduro. Same thing for the other manufacturers. They just changed the color of the plastics and the name. And then KTM took the 890 Adventure, 890R, and then they went to Husqvarna and created the 901 Norden, but it's the same bike. It's exactly the same bike. So now if you put out a product, this is all my opinion, by the way, this is nothing factual, but this is what I think. This is what I've seen happening. I think when KTM was like by themselves, even when just Husqvarna was there, it was still okay. But if KTM builds a motorcycle or puts out a new model, you don't know if it's going to work or not, if they're putting out a new model. If you already have an existing model that works, great. Do what you're doing, build the product great. Maybe give people a couple different color choices, whatever, options, but keep making that product. But what they did, they took and bought 2 additional companies and made the same product in 3 different companies and just changed the name and changed the color of the plastics. They could have did that, right? They could have did that just sticking with KTM and just given people a couple different color choices. It would have been the same thing without buying Husqvarna, without buying Gas. So now if you put out a new product, right? If you put out a new product, I'm talking about KTM now, and you're putting it out new to the market, you don't know, you really don't know, right? It's a crapshoot. You don't know if that product is going to sell this much, or it's just going to explode. You don't know. So you're taking a risk. Every manufacturer does, right? Every single car manufacturer, bike manufacturer, you're putting out a new car, you're putting out a new motorcycle, and if it's a new, totally new model that nobody's ever seen, you're taking a risk as far as, are people going to like it or are they not going to like it? So, for example, if KTM put out a new product, they don't know if it's going to sell, but not only did they put that new product out in the KTM lineup, they put it out in the Husqvarna lineup, and now they put it up in the Gas lineup. So it's like, it just doesn't make any sense to me why you would take such a risk and build that bike instead of building that bike just within KTM and just giving people a couple different color choices, right? A couple different options, whatever, rather than purchasing 2 additional companies to make the same product. If KTM doesn't sell motorcycles or that new product that they just put out, what do you think is going to happen with Husky? What do you think is going to happen with Gas? So if you guys remember, in 2020, when COVID first started, nobody was going to work, everybody had a lot of free time, people were working from home, motorcycle sales were through the roof. through the roof. People were riding like crazy. And that's when they were like ramping up. We seen going to motorcycle dealerships, they were ramping this, thing up where they were, doing obviously one model of motorcycle and just doing the same thing over here at Husqvarna and doing the same thing at Gas, slapping some different colors on it and then changing the name. But it's like, I don't want to say they were trying to fool people, but it's like, it's the same bike. Like, why would 5 or 10 different companies make the same bike? That, to me, does not make any sense. The same thing happened back then with Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Chrysler, all those companies where they were manufacturing a car, slapping a different logo on it. You would see a car riding on the street years back. I'm talking years ago. And, you would think you know what it is until you come up closer and see that, oh no, that's that manufacturer. Then you would see another one. You'd think that's the same car. Oh no, that's that man. Because all they were doing was just changing the name, changing the trim, changing maybe some things on the inside. But my point is, why have multiple businesses, multiple companies that are producing the same car with different trims? It just doesn't make sense to me. Wouldn't it be better, like I said before, having just one company producing that product, giving people the option to have different options in the car, different trim levels, different packages, and having an option for a different color on the bike, rather than purchasing 2 additional other companies to build the same product? It is the same bike. And I am just mentioning a few. But if you do, or if you don't know about this, go to your local dealer that carries Gas, Husqvarna, and KTM. Go to all the KTM bikes, walk over to the Husky bikes, walk over to the Gas bikes, and you're gonna see that all of them are the same. We know that, everybody knows that, but if you're not aware of that, that's what it is. They are all the same bike, just with a different name and some different plastics. They may have like some different wheel, but the frame, the engine, the bars, it's the same bike. It is the same bike. So that's what I have been noticing. Like if I don't like a particular model, I'm not going to go to Gas or to Husqvarna and purchase it there just because the name's different, or just because it's Gas, or just because it's Husqvarna, or just because the color is different. I'm not gonna do that. So that's where not only are they losing once, they're losing twice and 3 times, right? Because if you don't purchase this bike here, or vice versa, if you don't purchase this Husqvarna, why would you purchase the other manufacturer's bikes? It's the same bike with a different color. So that's what I think personally brought KTM to its demise. They spread themselves out too thin. They made the same damn motorcycle on 3 different companies. And then let's go back to now, during COVID, during 2020, where people were riding, people had money, people were spending. So now, obviously, they were selling a lot of bikes, selling a lot of dirt bikes, selling a lot of adventure bikes, or even street bikes. But I can't say like they sell a lot of street bikes, because I don't see a lot of KTM bikes on the road. That's just a fact. But as their sales were going up and people were buying more motorcycles because people were home, the economy still, it was not good. That's why, millions and millions of people got stimulus checks because of what was going on. They were purchasing motorcycles and they had nothing else to do with their time except to ride. I know that's what I did. That's what a lot of people did. But then they go out not realizing that obviously when this is all over and people have to go back to work and people aren't going to be buying motorcycles. They were ramping up manufacturing and stuff like that. They go out and buy MV Agusta in 2022. I think that was the nail in the coffin, so to speak, because honestly, that is really a boutique motorcycle. It is very, very expensive. I never see them on the road. I go to all these bikes and breakfasts, car shows, bike bike nights. It is super rare to see an MV Agusta. It's just not a big seller. It's not like Harley Davidson or Honda or Kawasaki or the other brands where you go to any of those events, you're going to see several of those manufacturers there. MV Agusta is the type of bike where you might not see one in an entire year. And they're super, super, super expensive. So I think that was the nail in the coffin, so to speak. And I don't think it has anything to do with the MotoGP team. I mean, obviously they do have sponsors and stuff like that, but they're spending, 20, 30, 40 million dollars on a MotoGP team. I just don't think that had anything to do with it. That's just my personal opinion. I just think it was the overexpansion of buying multiple businesses, multiple brands in a very short period of time, not realizing that it was a fake, pumped up market because of all the stimulus that was given. And they didn't realize that after a couple of years is going to collapse. And that's exactly what happened. And now we have the economy that we do have because people don't have jobs. There aren't a lot of jobs out there because of inflation, everything. They're rising in price every single year on all manufacturers, including automobiles and trucks and stuff like that. So they didn't realize that people just weren't going to have the money. After that influx of money in 2020 and maybe the beginning of 2021, after that, it just crashed. And then their sales dropped. And not only did it drop as a whole, but again, going back to what I was saying, if they're really not interested in a certain particular KTM branded motorcycle, they're not going to be interested in Husky, and they're definitely not going to be interested in Gas. So I feel it's like a threefold, 3x problem or 3x loss. If they only had KTM, if they didn't have Husqvarna, if they didn't have Gas, if they didn't have MV Agusta, if they only stuck to the KTM brand and kept building amazing motorcycles, which they do. They have amazing motorcycles, 1390 Duke. They really do. They have some amazing motorcycles that I love. Their adventure bikes, especially their dirt bike lineup. If they just stuck with the one brand and gave people a couple different color choices, maybe some different trims on different bikes, I don't personally think they would be, even keeping the MotoGP team, I don't think they would be in this situation as they are today. And like I said, they have over 300,000 motorcycles somewhere locked away brand new in warehouses that they can't even ship to dealers because like right now, there's a couple dealers around me they still have 2023 motorcycles, brand new, not to mention 24s and 25s, 2023s that they are discounting drastically. If you are in the market for a KTM, Gas, or Husqvarna, now's the time to buy, to be honest with you, because they are really, really deeply discounted. So I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I really hope KTM makes it through this, and I hope they keep making amazing motorcycles, which they have been for quite some time, because I definitely want to get back on a dirt bike. I haven't had a dirt bike in a couple years, but let me tell you, once you go on a dirt bike, a lot of you guys know that probably ride on dirt or grass, whatever. A lot of you guys know that once you get on a dirt bike, I'll tell you, I think it's the most fun out of all the genres of motorcycle riding. You're just in the middle of nowhere. You do what you want. You have fun, and you're on the bike for an hour or two. And let me tell you, you're done with that, and you've had your fill. You've had your fun. But I really hope they come out with it. I really do want to know why you guys think KTM is going down, and I wish them the best of luck. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.